Vamos lá ver o documentário de Arcane. Sim, Arcane teve um documentário da primeira temporada, claro. E o Litig mandou pra gente. Muito obrigado, meu querido. Então, vamos conferir. São 5 episódios, basicamente, né? Tem uma... vai longe. A gente vai longe aqui. Vamos lá. Vamos longe. Tito Gomes. Tá em um super K aqui. Vamos lá. Em 3 bilhões de K. Depois do Danael puxar minha orelha de... Pô, Thunder, tu vê os vídeos aí em 144p. Não é de propósito. É que...
I think the thing is that you play these characters over and over and over. Hundreds, in some cases, thousands of hours people sit with these characters.
I'm actually just messing around in the jungler right now.
Who are you playing?
Mordekaiser.
Kaiser
He's heavy
Jungle?
metal.
Faz sentido.
They're always in this one map,
Nossa.
you know, in this one environment. And you start to wonder, like, where do they sleep?
Onde
What do
eles
they
dormem? Não dormem.
What is their normal life like?
Vida normal?
You know,
Não
like,
tem
what
vida
kind of
normal.
families would they have? We knew Arcane was going to be the very first deep story expression of League of Legends. There's enough video games where the audience asks for a movie or a show for years and years and years, and then they make it, and then it sucks. And then guess what? People stop asking. We were afraid of that. We were like, if we make something that isn't at least good, then we're really, really harming the League IP.
Legados das lendas. Legal.
Right now, obviously, you know, the phase is trying to wrap up season 1. This is Echo with
Without hair.
Just oh yeah, without hair, right? I forgot. Here.
Echo de calma.
She will be the worst kept secret of the show. Everyone will know it's Echo when they see him with the mask on. I mean,
You think?
yeah, of course.
In the
Ué,
trailer,
o
I've seen like several
careca,
videos, people
rapaz.
analyzing it, and
There
they're
already
like,
is-
oh, this
there already
character
people that say that it's
is
Echo.
absolutely not Echo.
Well,
I was
but
like,
okay,
yeah.
but so the second they see that he has the pocket watch,
Oh, true.
everyone
yeah.
knows he's like the you
Yeah.
know the boy who shattered time. I mean,
That's right.
haha.
Hey,
Hey, how are you?
I
I remember you showed me that we built like a special rig on Jinx. You can kind of control going her face from going
Yeah,
looking more
yeah,
childish to like
yeah,
the adult.
yeah.
You have that somewhere to pull up?
yes. So when we first got the first rig of Jinx, the idea was to try to connect her somehow visually to what she was as a kid. Rounder face, bigger eyes, sadder look. We didn't want the typical like crazy girl laughing around like the Joker and
Sim.
just making no sense. We really wanted to make her feel like deranged and emotionally affected by what she went through as a kid.
É
I think
uma
we're a little
loucura
bit
mais
worried about,
inocente.
you know, when
a
we get to
Jinx.
the adult Jinx, that we just lose that like, I don't know, that beautiful little soul that just almost just tries to prove to her older sister like, hey, like I can do this, you know, like believe in me.
Faz sentido.
I think we should never work on a project that doesn't offer us something personal to explore. I think for the story that we have, it's a story about family, it's a story about siblings that have a hard time forgiving each other. It's a world of technology kind of taking over and us feeling like we're losing control over it. I think that those are just things that we as people think about and care about, you know. I think we want to also ask some questions that we think should be asked without necessarily giving you the answer, but at least asking like, hey, does a person,
A galera que faz
you know,
Arcane são
like
heróis,
Jinx
sim.
deserve a second chance? Can a monster ever be forgiven? I don't know. If you can figure out like, what is
sobre
something
isso.
that if you love it,
É,
a
pra
lot
ser
of people
perdoado?
would love it,
Não sei.
that's where you really should go hard. And I think that's what we try.
Tá aí,
you know,
sabe?
we'll see, but,
Essa é a história.
I think it has
Agora a
potential.
conclusão é tua. Sonho com risco, muitos riscos. Um lagarto.
How you doing, bud? The
Um
skinks.
calango.
I've had them for 23 years now. I got
Still
them
calango.
when I was 15 and definitely old enough to make that kind of commitment. Now,
Olá, Alex.
the thing when you work on story is that, just generally speaking, it never stops. I feel like I just have voices in my head that argue a lot, and every now and again, something they say makes sense, and then you write it down. That's basically that's how the characters happen. These are obviously League of Legends characters mostly. I was original creative on like Riven up there, and Ari, and let's see, Wukong, Nautilus, Lee Sin, and there's just, I don't know, that guy I thought was cool.
So I did go to school for writing. You know, I went out to LA. One of the things that I stumbled upon was a truly bare bones, desperate sounding Craigslist post for a video game startup. My
Get the
first
game,
and
yes.
consistent reaction to that was this company has no chance.
I started playing in beta, and I found, the job offering to work in customer support at Riot on Craigslist, which led me to be interviewed by Alex.
Yep. For the record.
And I think League was just really fun because it felt like there was kind of like the fingerprint of the people who made the game was so palpable when you played it, because the characters were so quirky, they were so different. You could just kind of tell people were just enjoying making these characters.
Early Champ concept meetings were so fun. We only had the one conference room.
Making these characters.
Early Champ.
O Sion era gênio azul com um machado e uma ombreira que Jesus amado.
Concept meetings were so fun. We only
Isso
had
era
the
o
one
Sion?
conference room, and it would just be everyone at the company who liked that, who was enthusiastic about it, just comes in, and you'd show up with something,
tempo
right? You'd be like,
fez
here's
bem
this sweet
pra
art that
ele.
I found, or here's this idea that I just jotted down. How do we turn that into a champion? I think the reason that we focused on Jinx was because, I don't know, Jinx just always had this spirit at the company. Katie D'Souza did this, and it wasn't a sketch, it was like a full concept of what she called Psycho Arsenal. It was not so different, honestly, from what Jinx looks like right now. You know, the long pigtails and just kind of like guns all over the place. I mean, everyone just fell in love with it immediately.
A doidinha. A maluquinha.
Vi and Jinx were characters that Alex and I always really liked.
Bravo, sis.
We worked on them together on, the different kind of teams. Alex was working like the
Cara, a
characters
voz
themselves,
dela em
like their
inglês
creative,
e em
their voice
português
over
é
lines
igual.
with, other writers.
She's such a loser, always ready to cry.
And I worked on the music and then the cinematic on Jinx. So on the, I want to try something fun right now. So fun should have some kind of spike up, like the screechy.
Okay, I'll try.
Fernando Blora é perfeito, sim. Foi a escolha perfeita, cara.
And when Christian made Get Jinxed, that was the most storytelling I think we'd seen in a video at that point.
Arcane started when Alex and I sat down together and were thinking what the devil we should be doing next.
Riot in general kind of struggled to put out long-form narrative content. Our goal was to have deeper storytelling, right? To not just do video game action. Or
Bacarina!
as we at the company tend to call it, fight porn.
Grafia
I don't know if we call it that anymore, but that's what it always was.
I just always had this
Calma, gente.
this sense of obligation
Calma!
to the players.
Pornografia de
It
luta
just
com a
felt like we
com a
created these characters
Bacarina
and players
ali,
answered
é.
us.
by spending so much time with them and loving them, and it just felt like they deserved to have better stories.
Whenever Jinx kills someone, she actually gets kind of like amped up. If basically the promise is
It
like...
would be nice to find some kind of thread, some sort of like emotional question thread.
Uhum. Estúdio bom, rapaz. Estúdio bom. Show off. Agora entra dentro do escritório fazendo isso. Duvido.
Le problème, c'est de finir après avec un shot final où t'as Rennie qui serait beaucoup trop à gauche et lui qui serait beaucoup trop à droite, quoi.
The Buddha is the yes man of the company. He's saying yes to everything. Is this a good idea? Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yes.
Can I do it? Yes, you can.
We do
Eu quero desses
mix
fazendo.
of
Não,
2D and 3D.
não. Tipo, olha, mais
Because the
dia eu
2D
passei ele
effects
meio
are
ruim.
done
Não,
in
não.
12 image by second, then and the animation it's 24 like all the movie. So you have
Dá pra fazer isso na calçada do
a mix
Brasil,
of
só tem que ter um
style.
patins off-road.
geek with dirty.
Hard at work.
Yes.
C'est très bien. C'est l'énorme lentille. Typiquement, moi je suis pas fan de la 3D pure et je trouve le style très intéressant, quoi. C'est plus organique.
How do you texturize something to look like a painting?
We paint.
Bonito. Olha que lindo.
So let's say you have like a character smoking a cigarette. Instead of having like a 3D smoke being simulated by 3D tools, it's actually 2D drawn, frame by frame, and gets this almost cartoony effect.
In fact, I start to do this 2D mix and 3D since
Caraca,
20 years
20 anos.
with music video.
On est en train de maltraiter.
Oh meu Deus! BR Futsal!
New way to do
BR
animation.
Futebol, no
It's
caso.
not anime, it's not full CG, it's a mix of
Ele fez BR Futebol.
of everything.
Sacanagem, né?
Are you feeling good about season one?
It's an interview right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm not in the good mood.
I met Arnaud in a party. Arnaud was doing fun, cool music video with no money.
Je faisais de l'animation, mais c'était tout le temps un peu expérimental. En mix média, en stop motion, mais souvent avec une grosse partie quand même live action.
Cheers.
Opa! Breja!
As what? Maybe another day? A little bit drunk, maybe. It's gonna be easier.
I met Pascal, he was the best guy for doing character in Paris.
When I was a kid, my dream was to make comic books or work on, for Marvel and stuff like that. I like characters. I like how you can bring personality and bring story.
I think back then,
Você queria fazer Marvel. Que bom que você não fez Marvel. Que bom que você fez Arcane.
This doesn't look like the typical expensive Hollywood animation production. This just looks like... This looks very French.
I think he liked the mood because it was more adult, more lighting with flares and haze and something more like a live-action movie.
Fortiche from the very beginning had this very unique approach to camera, making you feel like there's a person filming whatever's happening. There was an imperfection that could only be human in how it moved and how it felt.
Eita! Eita!
To be fair, the first answer when I went to the right leadership was like, I think we should make a TV show about our characters that is the highest budget ever spent on an animated series, and it's gonna be great. The first answer was, no, get out of the office.
That was like a, oh crap. Like, Christian has showed up with those like bold ideas and bold asks before, you know, but this one was such a leap from sort of music video to like full animated show. It's so unbelievably daunting. And in the back of my mind, I'm just going, how am I gonna talk Christian out of this? Like, how am I gonna help him realize that like, we're jumping the shark here?
And then I came back and said, okay, give me like $2,000. And they're like, okay, fine. And so we just started, you know, doing some concept art. And it was like, okay, you know, this looks really cool, right? Yeah, this looks pretty cool.
I thought it was a great idea, but I also knew how difficult it was to pull something like this off. We have something called the video game curse, which is very few games have adapted into film and television well.
One of the things that's really true that I think every creative can relate to is a lot of...
Mas sai merda de videogame pra filme, mas por quê? Porque geralmente não é por falta de orçamento, é falta de norte. Às vezes é um produtor, um diretor, uma galera que não faz ideia do que tá fazendo e, sabe, taca fogo no parquinho. Realmente você acha que o cara que fez o filme do Mario, aquele filme do Mario, sabia o que tava fazendo? Então, né? Então, hoje em dia tem muito mais produtor, diretor, pipipi, popopó, que sabe o que é videogame, que sabe o que é a franquia dele. Eu acho que o melhor exemplo disso, que não apenas entendeu, mas foi lapidando e melhorando, é o pessoal do Sonic, os filmes de Sonic. O primeiro filme de Sonic, ele tentou fazer uma mescla entre o que é Sonic e o que as pessoas esperam de um filme de Sonic norte-americano, de Hollywood, que vai ter que ter o núcleo de personagens estereotipados norte-americanos, né? Aí, segundo, essa galerinha aí foi reduzida. Mal apareceu, mal teve foco, aí foi começando a trabalhar mais o Sonic. Esse terceiro filme do Sonic, eu espero que é full Sonic, foda-se o James, o Anderson, eu não lembro qual é o nome daquele cara. Ninguém se importa com aquele cara que é o co-protagonista do primeiro filme do Sonic. Ele não importa. E aí a trama vai mais rodar pra os personagens que importam, que é o Sonic e companhia, sabe? Então, assim, hoje tem uma taxa de sucesso maior. Hoje é muito menos provável que vai rolar um Dragon Ball Evolution 2. Ou que vai rolar o filme do Mario. Então, tem essa maldição e tal, mas, cara, primeiramente, tem que ser feito por alguém que sabe o que tá fazendo. Né? Pelo amor de Deus, né?
Great creative ideas, they're fragile. They start off as a dream and an idea and a vision, and they haven't been fleshed out necessarily.
Fez a série de Yakuza,
now we can explore some 3D models and everything,
que a
like
produção da
$5 grand. They're like, okay.
Para não ser influenciado pelo jogo. Então... Pera aí, pera. Isso daí é uma coisa burra. Ó, eu vou fazer a adaptação de uma coisa que eu não quero que você conheça a mídia original pra você ser influenciado pela mídia original. Filho da puta, você tá fazendo justamente o bagulho de transmídia, uma adaptação de mídia. Você precisa ter um bom conhecimento da mídia original para você fazer essa passagem de mídia. E saber quais são os aspectos que fazem sentido, não fazem sentido, que tem que ser mudado ou não. O que aconteceu, por exemplo, no live action de One Piece foi justamente isso. O pessoal que fez o live action de One Piece sabia o que estava fazendo. Às vezes... não 100%, mas sabia o norte dele. Os caras que estão fazendo o filme do Sonic sabem o que estão fazendo. Os caras que fizeram o filme do Mario sabiam o que estavam fazendo. E sabiam pegar esse meio termo que é super amplo, ambíguo, interpretativo do que é você fazer uma referência do que você fazer uma cópia da mídia original. Né? É muito difícil. Esse meio fio, assim, de você fazer um negócio que é full estereotipado, sem vida, sem graça, que é o copia e cola, de uma adaptação completamente full alienígena. É difícil. Tipo, você tem esses dois mundos que estão nessa meiuca ali. E você conseguir ter o entendimento, a qualidade técnica de produzir algo que assimile tanto a mídia que você está fazendo, a mídia que ela está indo, quanto a bagagem de informações e mundo, e lore, e narrativa que tem no original, você fazer esse cruzamento é difícil pra um caralho! Muito difícil. E é subjetivo pra caramba. Então, assim, eu não engoli esse negócio de a maldição do videogame que é QW. Não. Valeu.
Not to linger on this.
Eles não queriam só gastar milhões em cima disso. Eles sabiam que ia gastar muito dinheiro.
Very unimportant.
You got $2,000.
All right, this is our first behind the scenes in the writer's room. Alex, what year is it?
1922.
While we were developing the story, we also started working with Fortiche on these little spikes, you know, of like, hey, what would it look like if Vi was just in her apartment in Piltover, and she's like venting about how Powder, her little sister, you know, is just always messing up. You know, it was just a test of like, hey, like, can we even do animation where acting feels good?
Go.
All you had to do was run, Powder. Didn't we spend a bunch of time preparing you for this? You and I?
In the back of my mind, I was going, I kind of hope this loses steam because this is so unbelievably ambitious. Like, I don't know how in the world we're gonna pull this off.
That's when I said, okay, could you give me like, I think it was like 65 grand or so.
75 mil, ok, dá pra começar a fazer protótipo.
And there was this fight scene, it was sort of this animation test with Jace and Vi on a rooftop. It was so sick, just in terms of how the characters were expressed and how they came to life. Like all those little incremental tests they were just like, yeah, we need more of this.
I think that was the time when I think they realized that I'm probably serious about this project. I said to them, well, I mean, you have concept art now for the characters, for environments, you have 3D models, you have animation tests, you have material that we've had developed for the pilot. And I was like, are we gonna do this or not?
I sort of think about it as like, oftentimes not knowing what we're getting into was an advantage, because I think if we did know, we would have said, there's no way.
I mean, animation tests, it was beautiful, right? But it was just a small snippet of what the full series would be, and there were so many questions about like, oh, what is the full story?
To me, the stakes are really high because we want to be respectful of players' time and trust. I'd for sure much rather not do a show than releasing something that's just okay.
I don't know if anyone among Riot's leadership necessarily thought that we would definitely be able to do it, but I think they all understood that we just had to try. You know, I mean, like this was a bet. It was a risky bet. You just kind of have to, at some point, make that bet. You know, otherwise, it's only gonna be ever a theory.
Fortiche was 5 people, so we had to build a studio of now 200, 250, 300 people, which is like, how do you build an animation studio? We're a game company, how do you do that?
At that point, Fortiche had produced 2, 3, 4 minute music videos.
Le pari pour Christian et Riot, c'était est-ce qu'on était capable de sortir 5 heures, 6 heures de film. Et non plus, on ne savait pas.
When I met Christian, I remember him talking about the character arcs and what's gonna happen in that episode, and you know, I've already that in mind, and it's gonna be like so emotional. And I was like, dude, you're crazy. We haven't even started the first minute of the show. I don't think he was realizing what he was getting into, but I think he was a fool. But the excitement he had when he was talking about the show made the difference to me.
Even when there are a lot of question marks and obvious concerns, and on paper it's not supposed to work because, you know, the experience isn't there and the resume isn't there, like that's precisely when it's worth jumping into the deep end of the pool and learning how to swim.
É.
Il y avait plus de peur pendant le test que...
É porque, caraca, foi muito, tipo assim, de 0 a 100 muito rápido.
C'est là où on a pu mettre tout ce qu'on avait un peu en nous.
Eles tinham projetos experimentais, mas nada desse calibre, desse tamanho. Chegar com o pé na porta, que nem o Lobo falou, ficar tanto tempo nas sombras e jogar uma pedrada com o Arcane, cara, assim, é surpreendente. O piloto como em 2016. Caralho! De 30 para 100. Uau! Impressionante. Dez meses pro primeiro episódio.
Basically, we had the pilot, you know, wrapped up more or less, and now was the time to start working on the rest of the first season.
We had an entire arc for the first season, I mean, filled with moments, you know, lots of art, lots of exploration, different locations, different characters, and we were already feeling the pressure of the sort of pipeline rolling.
These episodes take a tremendous amount of time to animate, and once the episode is in various stages of animation, changes are possible, but any change is tremendously disruptive in terms of the amount of time and resources it takes to sort of, so you're kind of locked in.
So yeah, at some point, there was a meeting on my calendar, and I went to Brian's office, and there was like a bunch of people in there.
He basically, he called me and told me like, hey, you know, I just talked to Brandon and like everyone.
It was basically like an intervention meeting.
And by the way, that's what we do for everything, even in game. If we're like on the cusp of launching and we think it's not right, like we'll stop, we'll hold, we'll pivot, we'll cancel.
Perhaps it's time I cut my losses.
I mean, I think with everything creatively, you know, you're always kind of waiting for that hammer to fall. We wanted to make sure the story that players got lived up to their expectations. If we couldn't do that, then we shouldn't do that.
The consensus was, you don't have the story yet, and it's not gonna work, you know?
É, rapaz. Como faz diferença você ter um making off, né, cara? E aqui é a animação de 1 minuto e 12 que eles fizeram. É o beta de Arcane. Que já é muito bonito, tá? Já apresenta alguns conceitos de textura, esse mix de 2D e 3D. Sim. Martelo.
Managing Fortiche is like, sometimes I feel like a band manager. Like, guys, you're doing whatever you want, but I want you on stage at this time for the concert and the gig. And they're always on time at the end. So you have to trust them. 2-0! So we are in 2017, and everybody is working really hard to deliver the pilot. And then we had a discussion with Riot, explaining to us that we're not happy with the script, with episode 2 and episode 3. At the end of the call, we were like, have they really said that? I think we have misunderstood them. When we arrived in LA, and then it was, hey guy, yes, we want to do a pause on the production, put everything on hold. We were like, oh my gosh, that was true.
Cacete.
Everything is going to shit right now.
I guess that was pretty much at the point where they had drafted together a couple of scripts and sort of a show bible for the entire season. The next thing I know, Christian mysteriously gets pulled into a meeting, and then it was like a strange intervention where a bunch of other rioters basically told him that it sucked. It was such a blow to the team to just feel like, man, we're being told to stop completely and potentially even find different showrunners, different writers for the whole thing.
You know, you've been killing yourself, you know, to try and make it work and try and figure it out, and I mean, your first thought, of course, is just like, is it dead?
We were really only able to hire all these animators with the promise that there would be a full season to work on. Because, you know, they're very, very talented, and you really only get them if you have something kind of worth committing to, you know, like a multi-year project.
And so we just kind of had this feeling like we're gonna have to tell all these people that we just hired, they have to be like, which just, I don't know, it's just like the worst thought.
I think Alex and I just felt like we suck. Like we failed, you know.
Christian's a tortured artist who can't let himself not do something great. Like he will will it into existence because he will beat himself up and lose sleep and go crazy.
There were a lot of times during my career at Riot so far where I needed someone like Brandon or Mark to explore some pretty wild ideas. You know, where a lot of people would say, like, no one in the video game industry has full-time composers, you know, like we can just hire someone from the outside as a freelancer to make some music for us. Or why would we make music videos?
Aí hoje
It's
chega,
insane,
hoje
you know,
faz
like,
justamente isso.
Companies don't make music videos.
Os caras são músicos que fazem jogos.
Who kind of saw the idea and like how awesome this could be, and they took bets on, you know, me being able to figure it out. So then in the meeting, everyone left. It was just Brandon and me, and basically, I think Brandon kind of took like the moment to kind of tell me, hey, like, we'll figure it out. You know, like, we trust you. You know, like, we'll figure it out. And I just started crying.
Christian's biggest fear is letting players down. He crushes himself over it. It's actually painful for those closest to him to sort of watch, and it gives you so much respect and appreciation and ultimately trust in what, you know, he decides to take responsibility and ownership for.
Hello, everyone.
I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about our decision to delay the further production of the follow-up episodes of Arcane.
I remember, I think I've recorded like 16 different versions of this video because I just always was just kind of sitting there like,
And I wanted to give you guys some more information about it, you know, why, what our plan is, and so on. And I'm sure you've heard from...
We did not show this. The question was, if we start with that, everybody will cry, everybody will jump out of the window.
I finally made a version of the video that I felt like was okay, and I sent it to them, only to learn a few weeks later that they were like, yeah, we never showed it to anyone because you just looked so depressed. You look like you want to kill yourself. Like, how could we ever show that to anyone?
So it was like a harsh time.
So we had to let the team go, which is always very painful. You're not sure they're going to be able to come back because if they go to another production, you might lose them.
We knew that we wouldn't have work for them for the months to come. So we started talking to different teams at Riot and started asking people, hey, is there anything we can do, like a music video or anything that could just keep, you know, the lights on at Fortiche. We talked to the esports team and there was a desire to make a music video.
Laboratório
the
também.
Rise music video, and then we started talking to the music team, and they were working on something like a crazy idea about a K-pop group.
Aqui foi inteligente da Riot, porque, beleza, a gente vai parar um projeto megalomaníaco que já tá rolando há uns 2, 3 anos, beleza. Vai jogar tudo fora? Não vai jogar tudo fora. Vai manter a galera? É uma boa manter a galera. Tipo, você viu que o projeto que eles fizeram ali, mesmo que parado, foi, assim, excepcional. Então, usa essa força de esses recursos para fazer projetos menores e ir testando. É um termômetro. Todos esses vídeos, cinematics, coisas do tipo, se você manter no mesmo estúdio, você vai fazendo um termômetro. Você vai mostrando pro pessoal, olha, tem esse clipe, olha, tem esse cinemático, olha o clipezinho de lançamento desse personagem. Então, assim... Então, não foi a Riot, no caso, né? Mas assim, a estratégia inteligente. Se a Riot não teve, é uma pena. Agora, se aprovaram, que bom que aprovou. Porque, pô, você jogar uma equipe de animadores ou um estúdio de animação no lixo, depois de tanto tempo trabalhando num projeto que não saiu, cara, é um desperdício desgraçado. Você já criou um ecossistema ali. Você sabe, inclusive, você já tem 3 episódios prontos e aprovados. Ou pelo menos, né, bem andados, bem adiantados. Pega essa galera e faz criar coisa a curto prazo. Que dá sucesso, que dá engajamento, que dá dinheiro, né?
So they did 2 music videos with us, which I think are still some of the best, if not the 2 best, on our YouTube channel.
Thank God. Alex and I are shit at our jobs because if we hadn't taken that extra time to develop the story, the KDA Popstars music video and the Rise music video would have never happened.
Ces deux clips nous ont permis aussi de résoudre certains petits problèmes techniques qu'on pouvait avoir qu'on avait pu avoir sur le pilote et d'affirmer un peu plus le style de la série.
É pros dois, serve de laboratório. Os caras sacanearam.
Poor cripple from the Undercity. I was an outsider the moment I stepped foot in Piltover. I didn't have the benefits of a patron or a name. I simply believed in myself.
At that point, the idea was I had to replace myself as like the person in charge of figuring out the story. Of course, you know, it was me and Alex, but I was responsible. We just knew we had to hire someone who's experienced as a showrunner and as writers and that kind of stuff. And that's what we tried to do. Except we couldn't really find anyone. 6 years ago, if you pitched that the video company was gonna do like an animated series that is looking for like drama screenwriters, no one really showed up. Or it was just, people were in for the wrong reasons, It was like, well, I mean, League of Legends and Riot is big, but they didn't really care about the characters that much.
A pessoa tá só
So
fudida de
we looked for quite a
grana
while,
e tá
and
precisando
at some
de
point,
trampo.
we just felt like maybe we'll just kind of have to try again, but be less shitty.
And then, yeah, I mean, it was just start over, like kind of look at what we do. That's when we started talking to showrunners, like who could we bring in to just be an advisor.
That's when we found Monica Macer. She was a showrunner. She worked on Lost, was someone who was really passionate about mentoring people, and she really helped us find the right way to realize our vision, without necessarily being like, here's what you have to do. More just about here's all about the process of how to craft a season, how to think about developing characters.
And then we hired, a bunch of writers who worked in various capacities in TV. So, Amanda was one of those writers.
I know. It's so good. It's so good.
You're like always trying to get into the heads of your characters in any way you can. I did have one of the writers teach me how to shoot a gun, like a sniper gun, right before I was gonna write Caitlin's episode last year.
Que foda!
We're in my house, and I have a little office here where I do my writing.
Nice. Can you show me that?
Sure. Through the kitchen, into my nook. I have these lights I turn on at night.
Ah, legal.
To sort of
Você dá uma empurrada na cadeira, já tá na
me.
geladeira. Legal, gostei.
There we go.
Oh!
They'll have scripts that they'll send over to you as kind of a sample of their work.
Eu não
And
posso fazer
Amanda,
isso
I
aqui.
think with hers, it was comic book video game scientist. And her story was about a future world where we've colonized the moon. And I was like, this seems like it could be a good fit for us.
I would prefer not to have a punching bag in my living room, but that's just what we do right now. So I actually never thought about how my kung fu translates to learning how to fight a fighter.
Legal.
Rotten luck, boys. But there's a fight scene in episode 5 of season 1, which is the episode I wrote.
Nossa!
One of the
Every
things
nudge.
I'm like so proud of is it's like between two women with like a different body type, different, like both like really muscular. They're doing moves that you haven't necessarily seen women do before on screen. I always think of fight scenes as like being just like another talking drama scene. Like there has to be a turn, there has to be motivations, you have to learn something new about the character in the fight that you didn't know before.
Caraca,
I'll give her
mano.
your regards.
And then, of course, she's saved by another woman. 3 women in a fight scene. It's fucking dope, so.
Amanda has a really honest voice in her dialogue
foda,
that
cara,
is
que
just
foda.
really
Gostei.
grounded emotionally.
Grande Amanda.
I remember this moment when
Continência
Alex and I
pra
were
ela.
really wrestling with the last words that Jinx was saying to Vi in season 1. And then like Amanda took the script and solved it in like, I don't know, an hour.
I thought maybe you could love me like you used to. Even though I'm different. But you changed too. So, here's to the new us.
Amanda just wrote that, and Alex and I were just like, "Yep, that's it." And we just couldn't do that, you know.
I think the biggest change from the way that we were looking at it before was it was very plot heavy, right? It's very focused on kind of like, what's the problem that has to get solved? Who's going to fight who? What I think most improved after kind of working with these writers was sort of like the emotional story for the characters.
I'm quite proud of the cold open too, the like whole beginning of the season with the bridge. The cold open used to be the cold open from episode 3 when Silco was drowning. I sort of went out on a limb being like, so guys, I know you hired me to help out with the show and whatever, but you need to change the pilot. That's a lovely poetic image, right? But it wasn't telling the story of the series, which is these 2 sisters being torn apart.
came in as a CEO, taking this big role with the idea of becoming a multi-game developer and a multi-game publisher, which on its own is a really difficult challenge to go from that one hit to multiple games. And then there was this little curveball, and by the way, we have this TV show, which probably is going to cost us, a massive 9-digit budget. There's a lot of risk in this.
To be completely honest, Niccolo and I were always on like completely opposite spectrums. He's a business person. He's someone who's just extremely smart in like a rational way. He doesn't really let himself get carried away by like his emotions or like by his own personal attachment to anything. And I'm the opposite. I always have opinions. I'm always, emotionally attached to the stuff that I work on. I'm an artiste, I guess.
Christian, actually, I remember I bring him in my office to say, hey, we've decided if we're gonna fund you for a full season. He had done the pilot, and we paused. And I told him like we're not gonna fund a full season for Arcane.
Vamos negociar duas.
And then I told him like I think it's really important you understand why, because you and I can be on a different page, but it's very important you understand where I'm coming from. And the reason I'm not going to validate you to move to a full season is because I'm going to allow you to move to multiple seasons. And so I kind of trolled him a bit.
He pulled a bit of a prank.
And I think he was really pissed at me for this.
So yeah, he definitely gave me the trust that I needed to develop Arcane the way that Fortiche and our team
na pele dele eu desabava de chorar.
needed to do it, which was not
Nossa senhora.
the easy way, but like really this like pursuit of like, hey, this is what we think our audience wants, and it's ambitious and crazy, but we need you to trust us, and he did.
You need to stay committed to players because nothing's going to be easy. There will be many moments where you want to give up. I know Christian went through this multiple times. We went through this multiple times, and you need to have the grit and the courage to continue for players.
As we were looking at trying to scale a lot more, and we had season 1 in production, and we started to think about how are we gonna do the first development of season 2 at the same time. That's when we started looking for someone to help figuring out the production scale a little bit more.
It was tough because we couldn't find the right culture fit. A lot of people kind of shied away from like, hey, this isn't normal TV, this isn't normal animation. I think I'm just gonna go, insert any animation studio out there, right? But finally, one time I got connected with a woman named Melinda Dilger.
Hey guys, come on in. Welcome to Casa de Dilger. I work here because of COVID. This is Willie Nelson. He's the boss of Arcane right here. He's in all the meetings. He loves it. He loves his job. Yes.
I just love talking to her. She had such a warm energy. She just also had experience. Like I mentioned some of the issues that we were dealing with, and she seemed unfazed by it.
This is where all my meetings happen. It's very exciting. This is where I burn off my energy, and I got that when I worked on Mary Poppins Returns, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
I remember sitting down all of the stakeholders, and I think I literally told them,
Até o documentário de Arcane é bom. Cara,
I like her, she's awesome. If you this up, I'm gonna kill you.
I was producing by the time I was 24. That was when I was really young.
Sabe por que é muito bom esse making off?
That was my very first animated show to be on as production assistant. I was working on Goof Troop, Aladdin. I won an Annie Award. That's kind of a big deal right here. This is very proud of this. Very nice. I know whenever people tell me, they're like, oh my gosh, I watched that as a child.
Ele não é sobre o como. Também é sobre o como, mas é sobre quem.
It's okay. It's okay. Now everybody looks at me and they say, we're so glad we have somebody with so much experience on the show.
Tem a parte emocional
really
que precisa ter de todo documentário, né? Precisa
ter,
né? Obviamente.
Riot's a very young company.
Mas é... Mas é legal isso.
Yeah, the team health when I first started wasn't so great. Everyone was like... I was like, man, this team, they need some lovin'. They need some lovin'.
Making the show that we kind of set out with Arcane, with the right designs for these characters that work in our IP, this fantasy world.
The pursuit of creative work is complex. If your expectation is that you're gonna work on something creatively where you're gonna have no pressure or no feeling of like being overwhelmed at times, then you're working on something the world is gonna forget.
By then, I think I was super exhausted because I was like 3 years into the project or something. I know Christian was exhausted, Alex was beat, and like she brought in that new energy and just sort of this like, yep, let's pick it up and let's go.
How are you guys feeling?
Yeah.
Exhausted?
Então, ele é
From what I
emocional,
was
mas não é
hearing,
sensacionalista.
it was just taking them a long time to kind of get their bearings. And let's face it, Fortiche, our animation partner studio in Paris, they had also never produced a series. So you have a bunch of newbies trying to figure this out, and lo and behold, it is really a difficult process, and it's a challenging one, even for those of us that have been in the business for a really long time. You missed a really long, important strategy meeting that answers all the questions of the universe.
That was the Rosebud meeting.
For Riot and beyond. The Rosebud meeting.
Melinda was always someone that is extremely inspiring to the team and creating a team atmosphere where it's okay when things are tough, as long as you just kind of believe in the team and have the right dream together.
Daqui na família, daqui uma
Get
equipe.
everything in here like that. Oh, gee. Oh, God, I can't.
See, you guys didn't think you'd be on behind the scenes, and here you are. There's Eric Bergman, our post supervisor. Hi, Eric's used to all the publicity. Eric, you're on mute. See, this is what we do every Zoom call.
Hello.
Somebody's always on mute.
How you doing? Nice to meet you.
I just came in and kind of rolled up my sleeves and went from department by department, just trying to get everybody together and get to know each individual on the team as a person. This is a French studio and there's no wine, but you have ice.
It's like there's two teams, the beer team and the wine team.
Well, where's the wine?
Estamos na França e não tem vinho.
And
Porra,
that's
é
part of
essa?
building team trust. And then you can start to actually solve the problems.
Legal. Legal.
Dig deep. That's what you gotta do. So this is our production schedule. In March of 2020, that's when this started. And then it goes all the way through the last episode. Because this is the first series Riot's ever done, a lot of things are getting figured out and developed as we go along in production. So it's taking a little bit longer than it typically would on a television series that's all thought out. Everything's figured out way ahead of time. This is like, how can we make this more unique and more special than any other show on television? Let's take our time and do it right. And if it takes us a little bit longer to get those scripts done, that's what we do.
There's a natural balance of power, and you just gave everybody nukes. Congratulations, you fucked up, right?
This is the thing that's always been a little fuzzy to me, is just kind of how we end this episode with the Victor Singe thing.
Yes, I would love to bring Vi back into Caitlin's mind in this episode in some way. I wrote like something about missing Vi that I have not solved yet either.
Yeah.
And to kind of like take the IP that's there from the games and turn it into something really awesome for television is a challenge. They're gonna spend more money than most people to get it there, but they're doing it because they love the players and they want the players to be happy. And it's special. It's like you don't just see them as these little tiny things walking across the screen. By putting them on television, they have soul and they're deep and you can relate to them.
Mas é. Não, documentário. Gente, se tivesse documentário com mais frequência de anime,
can this
ou
be
seria um documentário de 15
sustained
minutos
over 6 hours?
conversando com um voice actor,
something like this and fall into the
ou
immersion
não teria.
of the animation.
Do you actually have that quality to mesmerize an audience by staring at two characters, not saying a word? It's all between them and the air and the emotions. We all want to take animation to this place of mature drama,
e consegue.
subtlety and nuance, style and innovation, but it doesn't exist, and I think we together can do it.
Sim. não existe. De fato, não existe.
There definitely is a lot of Paris life and culture in Arcane. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of Piltover looks like Paris. Things are designed to be functional, but also to be a piece of art. I think that's something very much the French kind of spirit. Yeah, so this venue is actually where we had Worlds a few years ago. It's cool because it was really close to our studio, and so we sent a bunch of people from Fortiche. It was just something really special to finally be able to share that with them.
Legal.
I think they were fans of the story, you know, and of the characters, but you kind of also have to experience like the buzz in the world around the game.
On a tout de suite vu que c'était quand même le jeu mondial et l'opportunité de faire quelque chose de très très bien. For us, Arcane was a big opportunity to show to viewers that we are not only good to make trailer and music video.
Ça part vraiment d'une intention vraiment de plaisir, de passion de faire un film, enfin une série, plus que de faire du marketing.
If I'm confident about that, I don't know. I hope people are gonna be surprised.
I think everybody on the project is out to prove something with what we're doing. And I firmly believe that you need to find someone who's kind of willing to bleed for like this thing they're trying to make. I don't think otherwise you're gonna really be bold. Otherwise you're not gonna really have anything where you're gonna risk something. And I think you have to risk something in order to make something that makes an impact.
Legal, agora a gente vai começar a falar um pouco mais da parte técnica de animação.
There's a very, very competitive scene here at Fortiche about what they call, it's a baby foot, right? Baby foot?
Yes.
The suspense is killing me.
It's killing us.
Oh, there's the worthy goal. Basically, the idea for this trip is to get into a room with the directors, the animators, the editors, and just brainstorm a bit together. Like, what would be the coolest version of this scene or this kind of episode? So you're just worrying about, like, it being too complex?
My goals this whole time is like, I want to solve the story beats with the team in Paris. It's just going to be great to be like, hey guys, here's all our awesome ideas. And then they tell us whether they can produce it or not, or steer us more into something achievable.
It's not done until it's done, right? You know, it's like the block of marble chiseling away, and occasionally you knock off like an arm and have to start over.
If we ever proceed with a scene without taking in that input from the directors here, it's worse, you know, because they're just so talented and they always find this really creative spin. Pascal has this amazing eye for character designs, the models, the stylization.
Tu vois la caméra, je sais pas si on pouvait pas mettre une caméra qui tremble un peu là-dessus. Who is
Why just the man of shadow?
Jérôme, he's the invisible wizard at Fortiche.
Today I want to create the lab to experiment new style for the future with Riot.
I think when you think about the final look, that painterly look that's integrated into 3D, the super subtle, nuanced camera work where everything feels like it's handheld and really human and real, a lot of that is Jérôme.
Oh, Madonna, de-aging with me, please.
Okay.
I want some de-aging. So,
Who is Arnaud?
Who is Arnaud?
Who is Arnaud?
He tells us, you know, what I want is a psh, what I want is a you know what?
Who is Arnaud?
So this is the Arnaud model. So the hair is pretty detailed. And then he doesn't have any pants. And they wanted to incorporate the 3 directors in the show.
Happy Progress Day!
When Arnaud has like a crazy idea, the best thing you can do is just shut up and let him do his thing, because like it tends to be just like that's when the cool shit happens, you know.
I loved that they added them as kids in there. It was not something we thought of on the in the room, but it just added this level of emotion between them. It honestly, it's like, oh, I feel like these characters could be in love now.
Essa luta do eco.
This sequence is in every way, technically, artistically, and it's I don't know how to say that. Masterpiece of the world scene.
Yeah, this particular image to me is just like the combination. You know, Hextech's art and science, and I think that's exactly what I feel like the Fortiche depiction is. You know, it is. I feel the science, I feel the power, I feel the energy, but I also feel the beauty.
Ce que j'aime bien aussi à Fortiche, quoi, c'est que on insuffle la vision de départ et tout le monde met son petit...
Sa pierre à l'édifice.
Sa pierre à l'édifice, comme on dit. Enfin...
So basically, this board is all the steps that happen in Fortiche. After we receive the script, we go to the design phase, which basically is doing design for character, props and background.
En l'occurrence, ce bateau-là, il a été fabriqué par Victor. Et en fait, mettre en scène ce bateau, c'est une manière de montrer que tout petit déjà, Victor était un génie.
Mm-hmm. Then everything goes in storyboard.
In the storyboard department, we take the scripts and we work with the directors. We try to build something that is not there yet in the script. But there's also the editing that is working at the same time to really find the good timing for the boards.
As an editor, my job is to assemble those storyboards together into what we call animatic.
And then while that's happening, you're recording the dialogue with the talent.
I love a good conundrum.
Hammer forging is such delicate art.
Shimmer is rampant in the Undercity, attacks at the Hex Gates and in the Academy Square.
Yeah, but I said I already called it. You can't do... I called dibs.
We get voices from the actors and then we cut them with sound effects and temp music in order to see the movie and see how it works.
We're watching full-on storyboard animatics with the voice actors in there.
Vander learns none of this.
No worries there.
Aqui estamos anos-luz as gambiarras que são feitas no mundo dos animes.
From start to finish, before we animated the rest of the episodes.
You did this?
I mean, honestly, on every aspect, we were afraid of this moment in the episode because it's not always easy to like get these like really raw emotional performances from really young actors. And so Mia Jeunesse, who we cast for Powder, I remember going into the VO session and being like, all right, today we're gonna make a 11, 12-year-old girl cry. Let's see how that goes.
I am rolling on this.
She left me. She is not my sister anymore.
I remember all of us
eu quero assistir a primeira temporada de novo.
being shocked by
Na
how
verdade,
good
eu quero
she
assistir a
is
segunda, mas enfim.
Just being in tears at the end of the, you know, takes.
And I think we got it.
Yay! I got the job when I was 10, and I'm almost 16, you know? So it's been a while. Why did you leave me?
Because you're a jinx!
No! To get into that place of vulnerability was hard for me.
Ai, eu vou chorar de novo essa cena.
I need you, please! I have a little brother who is my best friend in the entire world. We get upset when we don't see each other for like more than 3 days. I can't imagine a world where he isn't in it.
Where's the...
Oh, you're back! Thinking about what that would be like if something had happened that made it so that we couldn't bounce back. Next thing I knew, it was all just coming to the surface. I only wanted to help. I only wanted to help. I only wanted to help.
I told you to stay away.
When it comes to siblings, they're your blood. And when you don't have family, what do you have?
You've got a good heart. Don't ever lose it. No matter how the world tries to break you.
Quand on entendait les voix, on se disait ah tiens, peut-être qu'on peut avoir vraiment quelque chose de particulier, de beaucoup plus subtil et beaucoup plus profond en fait au niveau de l'acting et...
I always knew you'd come back. What's going on?
Quand on entendait les voix, on se disait ah, on peut peut-être aller vers du Scorsese plutôt.
Scorsese.
All the main characters were really scary to cast because, I mean, you were not just making a new character. It was like, oh yeah, there's like, whatever, 6 years of, you know, 100 gazillion million people who have very specific expectations and opinions about who these characters are.
Mm-hmm.
So don't f it up.
Wow, super boring.
Jinx took us the longest of all characters. I think we looked for the Jinx actress, I think, for roughly 3 years.
She's so beloved, and her voice is so specific. For a while, we were like, can we find someone who can do this?
The hard thing was that we had to find someone who can do both the intimate and quiet moments that are just like these really vulnerable acting moments. But at the same time, we also needed an actress who can also do the really loud moments that Jinx is really known for. And you typically can find
Por
one
isso
or
que
the other.
pegaram a Fernanda Bulara.
I remember we were at a point where it was just, we've been looking for so long, we kind of just went through all of the LA catalog of talent. Let's just pick one and just go. And it was just this like, no, we can't. And at some point, through the help of some casting folks, we found Ella.
Hi.
And I mean, it was like the pearly gates just opened.
Well, look who it is. The boy savior.
I felt this like really deep
Não sabia se
connection with
achar
her because
uma
of empathy,
achando duas, é
compassion, you
verdade.
know, on compassionate grounds. Like, yes, she's
Se bem que a
terrible
Fernanda Bulara já
person, she's done all
fazia
these terrible
Jinx no
things.
jogo, né? Então...
But is she a terrible person? Like, I don't know. I started to realize, like, who she's become, this Jinx that she's become, is just a deeply rooted, very difficult trauma response that she's developed because she's gone through things no one should ever have to go through. No, it was a mistake.
Ouais, c'est vrai que l'acting, je pense, dans Arcane, est bien plus poussé que dans la plupart des shows d'animation. Parce que notre envie, c'est plutôt de essayer de vraiment copier ces acteurs et le casting, des fois, a influencé même les designs des personnages et leurs attitudes, quoi.
In parallel of the storyboard, we are going in background and Kara props fabrication.
At the beginning, we work in the same time with animation, so sometimes it's difficult to know exactly the position of the character.
Nossa, supervisora de
We can see
pintura.
the 2D with a black and white. I don't paint because there is still co. Enfin, moi, ce que je préfère, c'est l'évolution des personnages dans les histoires et elle a vraiment une évolution. Je pense que c'est pour ça que c'est mon personnage préféré. Et puis j'aime bien son côté un peu folle et en même temps, elle est pas si folle que ça. Pas si méchante. Ouais.
So we've got designs, and from there, we just build it in 3D. Yeah, it's very simple to explain. So here we made the Atlas Gauntlet, and the most difficult part was there is a lot of tiny parts who work together. So before it gets to the rigging department, we have to be sure it works first. Like Yeah, all the tiny pieces, you see here. So it was engineered precisely
famoso mecha
to work
designing.
like that. So it's a part of the fun, but it's part of the headache too.
It's actually really fun to create like all those intricate pieces, like the leg and the feet of Victor, all those weird metallic parts blending with the body. This was the design for the hands. Then I modeled something like this, and then I gave it to the texture department, and they painted it so it looks like that.
All the process is built around the idea of bringing the design to the final image, and that's great because this is actually like the design is just brought back in 3D, and it's actually what the designer thought of.
Alguém é bom de patins.
Bah là, je vous présente en fait ce que c'est un rig, le rig de marionnette.
Ah, rigging super.
C'est vraiment des joints, des os fictifs qu'on met en place. Donc c'est des points de pivot qu'on peut faire tourner avec des mains. On a une équipe d'animateurs qui est tellement forte et ils vont trouver, je sais pas, 3-4 idées pour rajouter de la vie au personnage.
Caramba.
And then we are going at layout stage, and they start, to do the staging and the camera movement.
On essaye de traduire le storyboard en 3D et de transmettre en fait des émotions juste avec une caméra, avec les mouvements de caméra, avec la focale qu'on va choisir, de trouver des jolis cadrages et de trouver le rythme aussi de l'animation.
And then it goes to animation.
Premiere torando.
T'as plein de mouilles avant où il va partir, il part et puis sur le départ en fait il se fait tomber, t'as pas besoin d'avoir une grande distance mais juste sentir.
If you go in the dictionary, like animation is giving life to something. Being animated, it's just like get the passion of something as well. And us, we are like the puppet master, the puppeteer.
No motion capture.
No motion capture.
No? Please, let people know that.
Why not?
Well, motion capture is used when you want to have some realistic animation, and only that.
Look out!
Faz sentido.
Keyframe animation, it pushes you to understand what happened in the body, how everything worked together to have like this feeling of natural and believable animation.
Yeah.
And also
Caraca.
it's about like the style of the show. It's semi-realistic. But it's not fully realistic. We try to keep something really handcrafted.
É uma movimentação artesanal. Cara, mano, é loucura pensar nisso. Motion cap, que eles falaram, você faz animações reais. Mas a gente quer algo irreal, porém não inorgânico. Semi-real, sabe? Tipo, que ele se comporte como um ser humano, mas ele permita ter a sutileza da animação de algo que só pode ser expressado através de desenho, né? Cara, foda! Foda!
Acting out characters, it's about performance.
Cara, isso é muito mais difícil.
When I saw the style of Arcane, it was something like I want to try this kind of animation because it's really different from the cartoonish style I used to be in. And after working for so long in the industry, I wanted to challenge myself.
Legal.
To be honest, Echo is the kind of character I would have loved to see when I was a kid.
Echo?
One of the first dialogues he had with Bai, I arrived with something completely different from the board, and Bart was like, "Oh, I didn't thought about this way, but it's interesting." And it was the same with Christian. I tried something like he was a little bit pissed and walking slower and just making with the face and giving a small attitude, not like a snake, but like this kind of movement to say, "Yeah, I'm the one controlling the stuff."
So we made like a shot like that. The animator, when he was assigned the shots, did shoot himself in order to get some references, and that what gives us the realistic look and the live action feel.
We do work a lot with references. We go in the reference room. We shot ourselves. We try to pretend and be the character and be in the right emotion.
Referência.
Why aren't you playing with the others?
But the video reference is really something that helps you capturing something natural. Sometimes like you got a shot to do and you got an idea in your head and you can probably like just go straight into the computer and do your stuff and it will work. But if you go in a ref room, you start recording yourself, you may end up having like some like little accident that you do that can be really interesting. And you're like, okay, that's pretty cool, let's dig into that.
Eu não sei, inclusive, até que... Eu não sei até que ponto, inclusive, não usar um ator pra você capturar essas reações reais. Tipo, obviamente, pô, contrata uma pessoa só pra fazer isso, às vezes você consegue fazer. Mas o fato de você não ser um ator, às vezes dá uma peculiaridade interessante, porque você não tá fazendo isso de uma forma toda emoldurada, sabe? Sem técnica. Não, você tá fazendo porque você é um ser humano ali, fazendo um bagulho que às vezes você nem tem aptidão pra isso. E é muito sobre isso. Arcane, inclusive. Tipo...
Remind me why we bother with this dump.
How can I say
Tem
no
muito,
to such
tem
an
muito
auspicious
ator, tem
offer?
muito personagem que ele não é proficiente naquilo que ele faz. Ele meio que sobreviveu àquilo, né? Jace, sim, o Jace é sobre isso. O Jace não é um guerreiro, um lutador. Ele é um cientista que eventualmente pegou em...
Like, an animator spent a day on it.
Pegou em armas.
So,
Ou
if
a
you work
Vai...
on an expression, on
A Vai,
feeling,
ela
on a shot
é
that lasts for 1 second,
uma briguenta de
you're gonna
rua.
spend a day having that feeling in your mind, like try to reproduce it. It's not rare to have like you go around the animation department and you can see like people like doing like like this just this face where you're just like acting what that's the common thing in animation really.
Ah, normal. Por isso que sempre tem um espelhinho na frente do animador.
I wanted to be part of this sequence particularly. Like there was a lot of crazy sequence, but this one was the one for me. When I heard that I was working on it, I was like, it was like a dream. Like, and I was really happy because I had the slow motion moment, and I have the opportunity to work with my son to make the movement of Echo young. He's 9 years old, almost 10. We came here to shot the scene where Echo is running slowly in slow motion. Yeah, it was so cool to share that with him.
Caralho, isso foi genial! Porque você pega de fato uma criança pra fazer a movimentação.
I hope you will remember all his life.
Caraca! Mano, gênio. Essa galera é boa demais, velho.
It's only experimenting for now. It's painting. It's about to be tested. For the glitches, we draw them directly on the computer. For this one, we are searching for another kind of process, more realistic. 2D effects are very specific at Tortoise because,
essencialmente, ele é um cientista.
trademark, doing 2D effects on CG animation.
Ele resolveu
They're just
trabalhar
like
a aparência dele.
animators
Ele
doing
ele
FX
sabe vender
frame
o
by
peixe
frame.
dele.
Donc ici, on a
Não é porque
pouvoir
você
que Jinx
é
crée avec son
cientista que
marteau.
você não pode ser crossfiteiro, né?
And drawing, frame by frame, and layers by layers.
Pergunta pro Maurício quanto crossfiteiro tem
But
também é
sometimes
cientista.
it's very difficult to follow the camera movements, which are very interesting.
This kind of shot is really difficult to do because the camera is a little bit hard to follow. I think I worked something like 3 weeks on it.
Wow. Nossa.
Depuis une dizaine d'années, on fait des FX 2D pour les teasers de
Aí, ó,
Riot.
viu? Ó, metade do laboratório é rato de academia, viu?
Sur le teaser de présentation de Jinx, donc qui s'appelle Get Jinxed, on a découvert le style Fortiche.
I have this feeling all the time when I'm watching something in progress and I'm like, we get to the animation phase and I'm looking at the animation, I'm like, how are you going to make this better? You know, how is this scene going to feel more immersive? You know, how are they going to possibly, you know, level this up?
When everything is done, animation, background, simulation, 2D effects, we render it and we composite it.
We come at the end of the process and basically we take all of what the other department has created and then we put it together.
Because the background is paint, there is actually no light used for the characters. We have to adapt the characters to the background. So when we see like a red light on Sevica and it's changing for a green light when she is going further, actually, technically, nothing is there. We have to create everything from the background, from what we see in the background. So yeah, we go from here to here.
Mano!
Compositing at Fortiche is one of their signature crafts, and it's just a straight mystery box.
Cara, ela mudou... Não, para. Ela mudou de cor. Olha isso. Olha o detalhe disso, velho. Você tem... Né? Eu adoro esse negócio de frame a frame. Sim, ela tá iluminada. O cara passa do tanque. A cena fica escura. Com uma emissão de luz ali na cara dela. Fica amarelo. Ela vai escurecendo mais. Fica verde. Passa da frente. E aí, tipo, você tem um vermelho de fundo atrás. Um verde na frente. Que vai iluminando, escurece de novo. Ah, velho, isso daqui... Olha isso! O inferno? E escurece de novo. Mano, que absurdo. Aí clareia, fica mais verde. Vai iluminando. Muda o tom. Meu amigo, cara. Isso daí, menos de 2 segundos de animação. Cê é louco.
Compositing at Fortiche is one of their signature crafts, and it's just a straight mystery box for me.
Sim, é pintado. Você não tem
I cannot tell you.
Você não tem uma luz girada ali, processada pra fazer o cálculo de luz ali, como se fosse de fato um jogo. Não. Não faz.
It's not that I'm, hold back anything, but some of the process I don't even understand.
Nem eu entendo.
I don't know
Só
if
vai.
I can show you. Yes, it's kind of secret.
Faz sentido. Aí
The
às
way
vezes
to
tem
light
ferramentas deles mesmos, né?
different. It's special Fortiche way. But it's so simple. When you know the trick, you say, so simple.
It's not magical trick. It's just
Contador, eu
artists and
sinto-
people who
Pô,
doing
cara.
beautiful things.
Nem dói, porque...
Very magic is on the...
Cai da Vale da
everywhere.
Estranheza, sabe? Eu vejo Arcane, eu vejo outra coisa e falo, nossa, cara, isso é tão sem graça, tão pouco, tão...
Because of their handcraftedness and the paintery look, it gives us this timeless look that I think even when the technology evolves, that this will still
Heavens
feel
Rising!
lasting. You know, in the same way, I think I can go back and watch
cara,
like
parabéns.
Disney
Espero que dê
animation
tudo
like
certo.
Bambi or
Vai pegar a
you know
carteirinha
like
aí.
Cinderella, and it's timeless. It doesn't age because it's
bom, cara,
it's
parabéns.
handcrafted.
Nothing is round in the show. If you have a glass, if you see this glass, it's not round because a drawing it's not perfect.
If you see the eyes, you know, the pupils.
The pupil is not round.
Não é redondo,
Except the gemstone.
This is the only moment where there is a sphere, perfect sphere.
Verdade.
Et l'idée un peu, c'est d'avoir chaque image, comment dépasser la qualité que peut produire un dessin animé
Algumas
2D
linhas
classique.
retas e tal.
Et ça, la 3D nous le permettait. Et c'est d'avoir que chaque image, chaque pose qu'on fait, ça reste un peu un concept art, une belle illustration.
Você tem basicamente wallpaper por frame.
There's just storytelling happening at every phase and every level.
Alex, on the other side of the ocean. Good morning.
Good morning.
Lugar de
really, I
alento,
think that was a
lugar
great
de
first
relaxar,
read.
lugar de
Can the second
divertir.
violins play that a little
No
bit
final do
softer?
dia é isso que eu espero, sabe? Que as lives que a gente faça aqui
where the
seja bom
musicians
pra
are
vocês.
such an integral part of everything.
Vendo anime ruim, xingando, falando besteira, mas
They've been spending
isso
what,
seja
3-4 years on
positivo no
music
final
for
do
this
dia.
show. Like every TV show, sometimes you get 3-4 weeks for an episode to do music.
I would say that Arcane is all the muscles that we've grown as a company in the music making craft combined.
Oh.
I really believe that what we're doing with music in Arcane Season 1 has never been done in entertainment. Period.
Forte. Forte, tá? Forte. Desajustados. Já a parte 5? Não, a parte 4. Podia ter voltando a parte, né? Perdão.
Music. In fact, in certain countries, people don't call us a
Basicamente
game
2 horas
company.
e meia de
They call us a music company, and they say we're making games to do marketing for our music. And so, obviously, when we dived into a TV show, we knew music was going to be a big part of it.
Fato.
Music is obviously personal to Christian. It's personal to a lot of folks on that team.
I think Alex Yee once said, when you go write a script, and I think it's the same thing with music, you know, when you go write a song and you sit down to do it and someone asks you, oh, are you gonna write a great song today? It's kind of like going, you know, maybe, you know, it's kind of like going fishing, he said.
Faz sentido.
I know what tools to use. I have experience to know where the best spots are.
Welcome to the playground.
But whether or not I'm actually gonna catch one, We've worked on all kinds of genres at this point, and when Arcane came about, we said, hey, we're gonna craft a full album of all these different songs, of all these different genres. It really was the culmination of all the different skill sets that we've developed over many years on the music team to craft something that's really unparalleled.
I think it's time to say goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye.
Ah, sonoramente também, Arcane é outro nível, cara.
Welcome to my studio in North Hollywood. This is where we make some of the music for Arcane. Follow me.
So we were going for an incredibly messy aesthetic of gear everywhere. We don't invite people over. You're the first human beings I've seen or invited here in years. We prefer dark, no windows. I love this space so much. It's the first time I've been able to have like an actual piano. I've got the most important instrument of them all, obviously, the French horn here. Everything I do is just French horn, and then I'll just auto-tune it to sound like other instruments. It's a cool trick that I learned in school. Just kidding, I'm way in debt for my college loans.
É a mesma coisa do milionário falar que tem muito dinheiro. Oh meu Deus, eu tenho muito dinheiro. Porra, velho, vai pro inferno então.
Is that he's not only extremely talented at writing.
Dá dinheiro pra mim então, pronto, resolvido.
But also he's a classical.
Para de reclamar.
He went to Juilliard as a French horn player, and when that career failed, he became a really successful pop artist.
I've been working with Riot since about 2016. Each year for their Worlds event, the biggest esports tournament probably ever.
Nossa, tem muita música. Eu tenho uma dica pra você. Tem um botãozinho de mute, né? Deixar mudo. Você muta, pronto, resolveu o problema da música.
About 2.5 years ago, Christian reached out and he's like, "What do you think about Arcane? Do you want to get involved?" And I was just like, "Oh yes, please." This is the sickest.
Vitor Gomes.
We always wanted to make music part of the development from the very beginning instead of just this post-production phase, you know, that it often is in film and television.
The first time I heard about Arcane was pretty much a series of index cards stuck to the acoustic treatment in Christian's composing room. Technically, he was still a composer then, but he had the story that he wanted to tell, and he had ideas for who he wanted to help him tell it.
Songwriter, caraca, mano.
Temple,
É uma coisa que a gente vê todo dia, tá?
Just an incredible composer.
But at that point, I hadn't done any longer form narrative work. I'd done shorter form narrative, whether it's like a 3 to 5 minute trailer or things like that, but nothing approaching the scope of Arcane.
Can you show me what this is?
So this is a gudgeon. I might be pronouncing it slightly incorrectly, but yeah, normally it's played. It has a pentatonic scale, and you can affect the pitch by, you know, bending over here. I've been using it completely incorrectly, you know, playing the back side of the instrument. Or even sort of playing it with this singing bowl mallet.
For the first few months, at least, we actually stayed away from any like picture material from the show, and we just explored themes in isolation for a character, every character.
I think when working on a theme, you want something that clearly makes a statement about who this character is, but you also want something that's adaptable. So this is the beginning of episode 3. We have this vocal melody that comes in. So for example, we have this character Silco. You know, he's kind of one of the villains of the show. He's a complex character. He has good reasons for some of his motives, but he's sort of a villain. The music that I ended up writing for him is not sort of villainous at all.
Silco é personagem maravilhoso, cara. Personagem excepcional.
So sometimes when we
Eu fico triste que ele tenha morrido, cara.
They
Eu
come back
fico muito
in kind of
triste
subtle
que o Silco
ways.
tenha morrido.
Kind of very confused, distorted version of that melody we heard performed so beautifully by the soprano in the other cue.
We really wanted to have just melodies, you know, for characters. Like, really, like you should feel like you remember this character in this moment when you hear this melody.
Eu vi muito bem pra criar um mundo, sim, com certeza.
They're always there, but sometimes they're darker, sometimes they're brighter, sometimes they're faster, but they're always there.
Bookworm volta em dia, sim. Bookworm vai vir pra Witch.
Orchestra composer, like
Quarta
to a level I
temporada.
can't get
Não
to.
temos absolutamente nada ainda.
At bar 13 can play
Nem
that
imagem, trailer.
Thanks. One more for luck, and then we'll move on.
Mas relaxa. Eu tenho certeza que vai vir pedrada.
funny because I was a French horn player growing up, and so I listened to just all this Mahler and like Bruckner and all these people, and so I thought I was obsessed with it, and then I'd talk Mahler with him, and he's just like, oh, the specific recording of George Schulte from 1975, I prefer the third movement versus the Bernstein recording, and you're like, okay, all right, you win the nerd contest.
Eu ia falar isso, pô, band de nerd de música. De Arcane ainda não. Estamos esperando o Igor melhorar pra ver Arcane.
So Ray Chen is a phenomenal violinist. You never know quite what it's going to be like working with, somebody who's at the top of their field.
Ray plays as a soloist with the Los Angeles Philharmonic, the big orchestras in Europe, London. He's probably the first classical violinist who plays on like a $20 million Stradivarius to an animated series.
20 milhões o Stradivarius dele.
A lot of the time, the music I put in front of him.
Stradiu, que é o nome? Eu sempre.
He's probably the first classical violinist who plays on like a $20.
Stradivarius, porque tem o Stratovarius, aí eu confundo os nomes.
$1 million Stradivarius to an animated.
É louco.
Patience. A lot of the time, the music I put in front of him, it's written because we know he can play it.
Só dá pra fazer porque o cara é monstro. Whoa.
I don't know about that.
That was horrible. My God. We're approaching the finale of the first season. It's getting very dramatic for
coisa horrível.
This is a cue that's based on the theme of the character Victor. This is around the time when he pushes his body and the transformation further and further, and kind of gets seduced in a way by this hex core, and starts to kind of lose parts of his humanity. And there's kind of like a terrible beauty, if that makes sense.
And it's a really tragic moment, but it's also kind of a tragic ascendancy because it's not a good thing that's happening. But at the same time, this is kind of like a leveling up of the character. This is an important stage of his development.
Unam-se a gloriosa evolução.
I've been doing orchestra stuff with Alex Temple for about 2.5 years. And it was only about a year ago that we were like, let's do a 11, 12 song pop soundtrack to go with the show.
There's a girl in town and words gonna rhyme. She's just fine.
We knew that we also wanted to create these special moments in every episode with music. And so with the editors and the directors of our team, we tried to find a moment where the music can actually take over and be in the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
I declare war on anybody standing in the way of what I dreamed for. How could you ignore?
Working on Arcane, the pressure is pretty high. All these great, amazing artists, and the story is amazing, and the animation is amazing, the score is amazing, the sound is great, the music has to be good too, the songs have to be good.
Sebastian is like ultimate homie for me.
We
Rise together, did Awaken together. I cannot wait to work with him any chance I get.
Sebastian is this interesting character. I remember in his interview, we always asked him, like, what kind of song would you make for this character, for that moment? And he would just go, I don't know. And so we were like, we don't know if he's the right guy for the job. And then you just start hearing the songs, and all of a sudden, you're just blown away. He's the kind of person that just does, but doesn't talk about it. We call these the banger labs, where all the bangers are made. Well, have we heard there's some music going on?
So I had already worked on cinematics for Riot and music videos and things like that. But Arcane, the extra difficulty was that, the purpose of the song is for a scene, is for the story.
Who told you it was all you?
Unlike other movies and shows that might have just like a standalone incidental soundtrack of pop artists, we actually wrote these to picture the way that you would score something.
Cara, que é verdade.
I know for Sebastian and myself, it was like really difficult to like figure out that language where we're getting things to feel like a song, but also getting them to dodge between dialogue or like hit peak moments to picture, which might not be happening at a set tempo.
I think so much in what we do with the songs, you can kind of find parts of the world as well. Like Zon, this underground world where a lot of things kind of get repurposed, reused, mangled, distorted. That's what the drums kind of also tell me. Where I feel like, okay, if Jinx would design a kick drum, what would it sound like?
When we worked with B. Miller, she had recorded some really amazing improvisations. Like this for example, is... She totally understood the vibe of what we were trying to convey, you know, descending to Zon, and it just was perfect.
Nossa, arrepiou, cara, arrepiou.
My dream was that we could kind of write the songs early enough so we can even still edit, you know, sequences and boards to the music. I think what we found pretty fast is that we would have this issue that we would approach all these artists and we'd say, hey, we want to make music with you, make these songs. And they'd say, oh, cool, that's awesome. When do they go out? And we would tell them like, oh, in 2 years. And they would go, oh, never mind. You know, so what we did instead is to actually write the songs ourselves.
Miyavi,
and then bring on the artists to
verdade.
kind of like, you know, either just sing it or find their version of it.
Verdade, o Miyavi tem uma música em Arcane. Já vi que a música de Arcane é só fazer de TikTok. Ah, é também uma forma de rentabilizar, né?
Funny enough, we didn't even initially think about Wood Kid for this song. We had him for a different one, and he happened to hear this demo and went, oh, let me do that one instead. And it was the greatest thing that could have ever happened. This was like sort of an action-y piece when I had first written it, and then he turned it into the most chill-inducing string thing I've ever heard.
Nossa, essa cena é muito embaçada.
But yeah, so like it always just starts here, and then you never quite know what it's gonna end up being.
Miyavi também faz um personagem,
One
caraca.
was the Jinx Echo fight in episode 7.
Ah, esse episódio...
Got that vibe figured out, and then for the vocalist, the rapper, we're like, okay, we have some ideas of who could be super cool. Like, okay, let's see what can, you know, let's send the track to them and see do they want to do it, and also, you know, are they going to do something that fits? You know, Denzel Curry was one of them.
In this gothic underground city, we all sin. If I bring a couple rounds with me, then we all win.
Jizzle was another one.
Just might kick your butt, go run amok, then paint my nails. Never learned to raise my hand, was too busy raising hell.
And Brenjo, he sent us a demo that was kind of, sounded like a female vocal. I was like, oh, that's a really cool, catchy kind of chorus part. Turns out it was him just pitched up.
Oh yeah, he mad, I'm racking up white diamonds. Throw me in the sky, you would swear the sun shining.
All three sent us really awesome stuff. So we got 3 demos, like, oh my god, like, what can we do? A little bit of a challenge just from having so much good material. How do we make it in, how do we make 3 songs into 1 song? Let's try to use all 3.
In this gothic underground city, we all sin. If I bring a couple rounds with me, then we all win. I came back and brought the crown with me.
That was one cool and challenging thing about working on Arcane songs, is you get these puzzles that you have to solve.
Was too busy raising hell. Everything I know I am. You should go and save yourself. Thought you had my number, huh? Congratulations, played yourself.
Season 1, everything we did for music was kind of happening then like after the cut, the episodes were already done. And so now if we do it early enough, we would have the ability for the artists to just kind of write whatever they want, and then we can cut the episodes to it. I think it was such a limitation for the writing musicians, you know?
Working with Christian is pretty special because he's a musician. That's also another great thing about him is that he's not going to waste time. If it's not great, he'll tell you. He'll tell you right away, yeah, it's not working.
Can you play the 57, just solo it real quick? I just want to hear it because I don't know if the orchestra always makes me feel like it's more convoluted than what it actually is.
Christian started his career at Riot in an entry-level position, answering tickets when players have a problem, whether it's a technical problem or billing problems. Then only a couple years later, he started to write some music, and only then we realized, oh my God, this guy is an amazing talent.
Legal, plano de carreira na Rito Gomes.
He came onto campus, very quiet, very unassuming, other than, of course, the neck tattoo. And, you know, I'm like, so, you know, tell me, what jobs have you worked? What have you done prior to coming here? And he's like, oh, well, you know, I did some music. You know, I was in a band. I traveled around Europe doing some tour kind of stuff. I was like, don't care. How well will you serve the players? It took me a little while to realize that he was, in fact, a big deal. I believe he told me the biggest audience he played in front of was like 100,000 people.
Christian's a freak because he gives us feedback like, no, the cello needs to be an octave lower and it needs to be this dynamic. Like, he just knows how to speak music.
That's my favorite Christian feedback. When I released my album, I had one song that I was like super into, and I'm still really happy with it, but I just remember Christian was like, and Christian liked it when I was working on it, and then he heard the final, he's like, it sounds unfinished.
You know,
Mano, o cara era uma estrela do rock. O cara fazia turnê e foi trabalhar no helpdesk da Riot. Rapaz. Rapaz.
It's going, it's just the episode 8-track.
Porra, se um cara desse precisou trabalhar no helpdesk da Riot. Semana que vem eu tô pegando meu bonezinho do BK, hein?
The concept was
tá feia a situação, rapaz.
When you kind of go into it knowing, like, by the way, this is the big champion moment for Vi and for Jace, and this needs to be great, and you're gonna question every choice you make because it's like, but is it great?
A Rito deve pagar bem. Ou ela paga bem, o cara ganha
So this is a bit of
bem
a
mal.
Hail Mary just to kind of say, hey, we couldn't really figure it out, and so someone had recommended Paris, you know, just because she has a really cool sound, and then we just kind of went, maybe we should just let her do her thing.
Talvez nunca, não, na verdade já eles têm meio que carta branca pra fazer mais uma série. Bom.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Feels like five.
Achei mentiroso. O Jace não tem uma skill defensiva.
The attitude's really, really fun. She even has like the shaved side and then like the nose ring. I was like, she kind of is Vi.
Essa é do Miave, né? Metal! Imagine Dragões.
I'm Dan from Imagine Dragons, and this is our studio. This is where we did Enemy. So I'll take you on back. Well, hello, hello.
Oh, hello there.
This is Daniel Platzman, our drummer.
How's it going?
Ben McKee, our bass player.
Oh, fancy meeting you here.
And Wayne Sermon, the guitarist. And this wasn't planned at all. I can't believe you guys are in here at this exact time.
What are you doing here? I just felt like I needed to be here.
Vi is actually the player that I play on League of Legends, so I definitely associated with it. And
that was the question I had. Like,
yeah.
Do all of you play or some of you?
The three of us play. So Platzman plays. Ben's a more old school gamer.
Did you try League? I have tried League. It is
I am a simple man.
We've certainly been,
Ele
we've
gosta de
definitely
Pac-Man.
late on stage in front of, I don't know, tens of thousands of people, maybe hundreds of thousands of people because we were finishing a ranked League of Legends game.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to get banned. I love Riot. We've worked with them for a long time, and we've been a part of the community for years. And I love Christian. We vibed out. He told me
Relaxa,
about what he'd been
moço.
working on. He showed me a lot
Relaxa.
of slides and
Muita gente
storyboard.
também não
Back then,
joga.
it was in the very
E tá tudo
early
bem, é
stages of
melhor.
Arcane. But it was enough that I understood the dynamic at play with, you know, the sisters and Vi and Jinx.
What makes you different makes you strong.
You know, as far as enemy goes, I think there's a lot of times in people's lives where you just feel like alone, or you feel isolated. And that song is written in isolation and feeling kind of you against the world.
Searching to be home, stories in a tone. When my back was to the world, smiling when I turned. Tell you you're the greatest. But once you turn, they hate us. Oh, the misery. Everybody wants to be my enemy. Look out for yourself, my enemy. Look out for yourself. They say, pray away. I swear I'll never be the same.
I mean, it goes without saying, like, the last scene of season 1 is probably going to be an important scene. And it was this beautiful montage, and they had tempted up with this, like, stunning David Bowie song. And they're like, you know, Alex, could you write us a song for this moment? And you're like, sure, I'm going to have a panic attack first. I'm going to go see my therapist, and then as soon as I center myself, try and write a song that lives up to that moment. So here's some of the initial stems that I had done. It was just like a piano and my own vocal.
I am the monster you created.
Nossa, essa música, cara.
Ripped out.
Ai, essa música dói, cara.
The way it starts is just like a person just like lamenting. I mean, it was really Jinx's voice in this song. The lyrics for that one came quickly. The difficulty with that was writing a song that's structured properly, because Jinx fires this rocket at first, which is like a beautiful moment as it soars across the sky. And I wasn't at the point in the song that something that big was supposed to happen yet. So we had to like figure out how to write almost like a bridge section that is this rocket blast moment before we get back to the second verse and before we continue the song. Christian would give us feedback and we'd kind of hit our stride, and then it would be like, okay, which artists do we want to have sing this?
O homem. Foda.
I am your ghost, a fallen angel.
Que pariu, mano.
You ripped out all my parts.
Sting was at the top of our list. I mean, it's pretty convenient to be like, oh, we'd love to have Sting. Like, oh yeah, would you?
Gostamos de Sting, gostamos
we
da
had him
Policy,
there,
bora.
and we were able to talk to him about it and get him into it and show him the sequence, and he was just really generous, and it did exactly what we had hoped, which is just elevate it into this moment that is kind of above everything else. Like when you hear Sting's voice enter, you're just like, is that Sting?
Sting, cara, foda. É o fodendo Sting, rapaz.
What could have been?
You know, it's funny because you work on these moments for so long until you actually, like, you think, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. But you just don't quite know until you actually see everything done. And you just have that feeling for like 2 or 3 years where you go, I think it's going to be amazing, but I'm not quite sure. And you just kind of have to wait because you just, you know, does the music come together? Does it have that kind of magical touch, you know, like does the storytelling come together? Does the acting kind of come together?
We're bleeding money, and for what? His dreams of rebellion. He's losing control.
I'm curious to see how it will go when this show hits all the platforms so people can watch it and it's released, and how it'll go for our League audience, you know, and also kind of like the general audience. Our League audience, they will certainly tell us how they feel. Changes the emotion, but all I really hear is just the... It's pretty scary to know that you're working on something that really cannot fail, you know? Like, that's not an option. And so it just makes you question everything.
Não. O louco é que os caras não apenas acertaram. Os caras fizeram história. Os caras fizeram... Tipo, não é... não é que... tá bom. Não é que tá bom. Eles elevaram o nível a um outro nível. Eles falaram... Pô, não tá legal. Quem gosta de LoL gostou. Quem gosta de animação gostou. Não. É outra coisa. Os caras criaram o conceito... Um outro conceito de produção audiovisual. Os caras levaram tanto a régua, que esse medo, obviamente, totalmente entendível de fazer isso, da pressão que eles tinham ali, do tempo, o orçamento, coisa do tipo. Mas os caras foram tão assertivos em fazer tudo isso que eles fizeram o Cinema 2, cara. É assim, é outro nível. É outro nível. Não existe nada nesse nível. Sabe? Não existe o que a Arcane fez. A Arcane é único em absolutamente tudo. Na identidade, na qualidade, tudo. Tudo. É outro nível. Tem mais um? Tem mais um. Eu vou deixar rodando os créditos e eu vou no banheiro, porque já estamos em 2 horas de gravação e ainda tem mais um episódio de meia hora. Então, eu volto lá. E pra não quebrar a gravação, eu vou deixar tocando aqui rapidinho.
When Arcane goes out, we will get death threats. Doesn't matter if we win every award in the world, we will inevitably piss someone off who really loves whichever character is in Arcane.
Quê? Alemão? Pô, meu Deus! Aí é foda. Pera aí. Ai, cacete. Ah, não. Nem fudendo. Ah, vocês não meteram uma dessa. Ah, vocês não meteram essa. Ah, não. Não. Vocês não meteram essa. Ah, vocês não meteram essa. Cadê? Tá, velho. Ah, sério? Ah, mano. Tá, é o mesmo. Ah, cara, você tá de sacanagem comigo, né? Ah, mano. Ah, velho. Não gostei não, tá? Ó, vocês querem tradução girada automaticamente? Espanhol América Latina. O que que você quer dizer com espanhol América Latina?
Against this beautiful stained glass that was probably once like colorful and
Aí é foda, cara. Não tem em inglês. Então, o problema é esse. Não tem traduzir automaticamente. Ah, velho. Olha, isso deve ficar horrível. Cadê? Português. Portugal não, cacete. Português Portugal não. Eu sempre... Ô, maldito português de Portugal. Ora, pois. Automaticamente. Português. Português. Aqui. Vamos lá.
cheerful and happy, but now it's
Tá, beleza. Imagina confiar na IA. Imagina confiar na IA do Google. Da hora.
When Arcane goes out, we will get death threats. Doesn't matter if we win every award in the world, we will inevitably piss someone off who really loves whichever character is in Arcane, and they will want to murder us.
I love it, but you know, I'm still anxious, right? We're 2 to 3 weeks to the launch, so maybe I'm completely fooling myself and it's gonna flop.
Let's have a look at that trailer for Riot Games' upcoming animated series.
So, it's like League of Legends Christmas right now?
Yeah.
Holy!
If it's even like half as good as that trailer is,
Oftentimes the question is like, how do you make something good? How do you know it's good? What if you don't know these characters? What if you don't know anything about League of Legends? Would you still engage in this?
Hopefully we succeeded in the biggest thing, which was making League of Legends fans proud of their investment into the IP.
Jinx framed against this beautiful stained glass that was probably once like colorful and cheerful and happy, but now it's shattered and broken.
The fact that somebody can make an hour-long reaction video off of like the smallest teasers that we've made is impressive.
Let's have a closer look at this bit of animation because they're doing doubling. They're taking the character model and copying it gun barrel here, gun barrel here, gun barrel here, which is a technique that's stolen directly from 2D animation.
We dissected it like every frame, like it was spot on
Quase
most of the
tudo,
time.
Her
caraca.
jaw unclenches as she opens her lips.
I mean, I can't imagine how much of those are going to exist after we've released a whole season of Arcane, like what everybody's going to say and what everybody's going to do and think about it.
It's not just a story or a project that goes out and if you don't like it, c'est la vie. It's like, no, it has to be good because it's this thing that our audience cares about so much, that we care about so much. So it's, you know, it's not easy to make decisions when you have that in the back of your head.
Shoot. Ué. Arcano. Da rachadura. Meu Deus.
So it's problematic. It's just
They skipped some.
yeah, it's
It just kind of is what it is.
I'm trying to save you from annihilation.
Good. Next.
Be surprised what you can pull off when your life depends on it. Ends on it.
Because on it feels like it ends early.
Yeah.
I have never worked on animation before this project, which I actually always thought was a detriment, but I was recently told that that was actually something they were looking for, so I was like, oh, good. That's pretty pissed. That's a little too pissed. They put so much detail and so much thought into the animation, you really do want to match it, you know? Like, you want it to be just as detailed, just as nuanced.
Sim.
And, sound as cool as it looks. So Andy is the sound effects mixer.
Tem algum making off, entrevista com a direção de dublagem BR
The
de
sound is what I
Arcane.
think really connects for a lot of people. Like
Cara,
they may
eu
not
tenho
realize it.
muito
Same thing with like
interesse em
music.
saber
Music is kind of like a
como que
universal
foi a
language.
dublagem BR
There's something about that, you know,
do diretor de
sonic
dublagem, porque, cara,
thing that gets in your ear
ele não
that
pegou,
really,
é uma
I think, brings
animaçãozinha, não,
stuff to
é
life.
uma
Like when I go see a scary movie,
fodendo animação.
I cover
É
my ears, man. I
fodendo
don't
material.
cover my eyes, right?
I support Councillor Tallis's proposal for peace.
What was that, 5?
Yeah.
Split the diff.
Never forsake you.
Drop the gun!
The goal is clarity.
Igor deu sinal de vida,
You
Igor
know, it's
tá
supposed to
doente.
be like not noticed in a way. You
Igor
know,
falou
if it's
que
noticed, maybe it's
pode
done.
tá até com
You know, it's done wrong because it's like
Covid.
scenes are believable when people believe that they're in them.
Sorry, my watch went off. Totally ruined your soundbite, dude.
Netflix deixa a dublagem essa chave, acho que não. Pô, mas nem entrevista de
We should have had
diretor?
shirts that said Sound Bros.
Arcane Sound Bros.
I'm with stupid.
Yeah. We make the noises.
Porque todo mundo doente essa semana. Bem-vindo à ebulição global, meu querido.
Welcome.
Bem-vindo à era onde a bagunça climática é real.
You know, for just developing
Onde não tem mais estação do ano, tem estação do dia. Hoje a gente tá no inverno, amanhã a gente tá no verão.
Exactly the same, actually. Except for
Daqui a
I have
3
some
dias de
plants.
primavera.
I'm a big plant guy, but obviously everything would die in this room, so I had to find the best looking fake plants. Target. Target's got some great fake plants. Oh, these are motion picture MPSC awards. These were for Blade Runner and a game, Resident Evil.
Caralho!
And hopefully there'll be a third one there when you come back and film this for season 2.
Boa! Gostei.
Sound design, when you're working in animation, you're working completely from scratch for everything.
And a lot of times it's easy to just kind of do the bare minimum of what's needed for the scene because that's just sort of the aesthetic. But for this, from day one, it was let's create a really, really authentic sounding production track.
Brad and I's job ultimately is to work on the relationship between dialogue, music, and effects to help sell a believable story.
I remember in our second episode, there was this council scene where Jace has to kind of answer for his unsanctioned research. And that scene just did not work for me in the animatics and everything. And I looked at this script page and I was like, no, these are the right words. Like, we're saying the right things. The animation looked great. I was like, what is the problem?
Faltava música. Faltava som.
The materials were far more dangerous than I was aware of.
Sounds like how it was recorded
my actions
in
were against Academy regulations.
the VO booth.
What I did endangered people. It was reckless.
But to sell the sheer mass of this room, you know, you add reverb.
It was revolutionary. Revolutionary how? All I see is a boy meddling with things he doesn't understand.
Legal.
The second there was that like feeling of the words just expanding into this eerie space, it felt like every word just mattered so much more, you know? And that was the first time that scene really worked for me.
O eco.
Bee Gees, backgrounds. You know, backgrounds are, you know, what world is this character in? What's happening around them? What could be happening around them?
Legal. Mantiveram a mesma fidelidade da dublagem BR.
The conversation with backgrounds is sort of like our wallpaper. It kind of like lays the foundation. And then sometimes it's a combination of stuff that you've recorded in the field.
We try to go out almost at least once a week or on the weekends. I'm constantly recording.
Será que, tipo, eles mantêm os mesmos
My
filtros
parents have this kind of 4x5. But when I
os
pitched down
mesmos
the recordings I
filtros
did, I got this. The
para as
engine
dublagens?
kind of
Tipo,
repetitive.
eles mudam a track de áudio, mas
That's
os filtros mantêm?
Basically the industrial zone. The steam releases,
Aí eu não sei como
cool little
funciona.
air compressor bursts pitch down.
And then the Foley is really that next layer, right? Creating this whole level of realism.
For animation, it's huge.
The Foley crew was our good buddies at One Step Up. Dan O'Connell, John Cucci, totally crushed it. Each one of these tracks is, you know, somebody watching this scene and doing all the feat for that one character, going back, doing the feat for that next character.
Footsteps, props, which is kind of like, this is a prop when you set it on the table and it has a sound. And then gear, which is like, you know, Vi has a certain jacket on with a buckle. That buckle makes a sound. You can kind of get a different feeling on each person. Brad and I come from a world of creating game assets and characters in game where Foley is a huge player in games. So, you know, our viewpoint on Foley is like, we need it and play it loud.
É muito bom essa cena.
You know, Dan and John, and what they did is like, their stuff is always 90% there and it fits in and it's great. But sometimes you need to embellish it.
The Foley on its own, it doesn't do what you need it to do, but like just the sound effects by itself. And it doesn't have that realism and the texture that you need from like something that's real. So together,
there was a lot of organic recordings and thought that went into sounds that came from the natural world.
I kind of pick up everything that sounds cool. Just keep it. The elk are just gonna start running into the building through the walls.
Esses caras que faz barulho é tudo maluco, velho.
I took that and sampled it out.
Que foda.
50 cal bullet. How about castanets? Got a lot of weird shit.
For me, the biggest thing was the magic, like the hex core, and this is like the beginning and the origin of magic of League of Legends. Like creating something that tonally sounded new and was the beginning, and it had to progress through the whole season.
You know, I took some time and recorded some wine glasses. So this is pitched up and then thrown through a tremolator. And then it's also thrown through a Doppler. And then Brad messing with a bunch of different synthesizers and like a chimey tonal thing with a choir. Kind of has both sounds intertwined into it.
and then like Shimmer, like the whole Shimmer thing.
The biggest player in the Shimmer is actually, that's your voice.
Would that be hilarious if that's just how we talk?
Elliot! So just recording a ton of that stuff just kind of gave us this like weird palette of stuff to play with. You know, running it through an impulse response. It's taking that and then adding like a liquid kind of bubbly component to it, but
The one thing about Brad and I is we work together well. Like, you create building blocks, as Riot likes to call it. Taking those building blocks and building on top of that and building more and more on top of that and going 6 or 7 steps beyond your first step, all of a sudden you've got something really cool.
And then putting on your sound editor cap, it's like taking all that cool stuff that you made, putting it up against picture and making really hard decisions about what to keep, what to get rid of.
Are you still missing stuff on those swords hits? Those sword swipes?
Carving through it?
Yeah.
No. Are you?
I might play. What do we got, 3:30?
We have half an hour.
That was the initial design, which you kind of lose because it just sits in the register of the music.
Any sound designer can create amazing sounds, but to create clarity and to tell the story that the director is trying to put together, you have to be able to pivot a lot.
So like these are kind of fireworks I recorded. Getting that sizzle on stuff. Nice little trick that I do is this is basically just a volume graph. But what I like to do sometimes, instead of tremulating the sound, I'll draw it in like this, which I do a lot on creature vocals and stuff. Where it basically gives you this, you see how it kind of cuts through a little bit?
It just blows me away. Like, they're like, hey, we need a sound for Savika's plasma blade, you know? And he's like, hold my beer.
Hold my beer.
Right now, I am at my parents' house in the north of Germany. This is one example of me thinking of the Arcane story. There were definitely moments of being pretty overwhelmed, for sure. I mean, speaking for myself, I'm the kind of person, I work actually well under stress, except for when you have so many stressful things that you feel like you lose oversight, if that makes sense.
Pouco de pressão, mas
music over there,
não...
voice talent.
Não a ponto de quebrar.
I think what would be nice on, you know, profits have been plummeting to kind of to like have like those pop.
And you don't know if the scripts for less episodes are working, and the planning for season 2, and there definitely are those moments where you just feels like it just is too much, you know. I think that's why the burnout rate for showrunners is like 100% in general.
Knowing that the show is going out in November, really, I think it won't be real to me until it actually goes out into the world. And right now, the thing that keeps me up at night is trying to make sure that the next season doesn't disappoint. There's some other option, right? It's like die or, you know, like accept
muito tempo de planejamento
para
a primeira temporada e para a segunda.
Right? That would be the way that
Você tem
go back to humanity.
Mais bloco de produção com menos tempo de produção.
The big hope, I guess, with this trip to Fortiche is to
Mas você já tem expertise de fazer, então você consegue fazer.
The end that I won't talk about
mais
very
rápido,
much is one that is complex.
E o também não, o negócio não vai pausar.
There's one thing about the ending that is new. We're like, oh, that's sort of the same beat we had in 206. Okay. That was sort of the thing we were hinging this whole episode around, and now it's not there anymore, so let's just redo the whole thing.
This part, I think, is just a particularly hard part of stories. Getting from your middle to the, okay, on track, final run on the Death Star, you know, that kind of location.
It's so hard to wipe the slate clean on something.
Agora dá 3 meses de férias pra todo mundo.
Like try and figure this episode out without thinking about all
e aí voltamos pro próximo projeto.
But we also don't want the baby to go out.
E aí a gente vai pra
murder this baby with our bathwater.
Is that suggesting that we are filling it with more bathwater right now?
A lot of bathwater.
We're not dumping out the bathwater, we're adding bathwater. The baby is steadily drowning.
I'm circling the exact location of the problem, because when you say this is a little blurry or there is a bug here,
Mas eu
sometimes
acho que
it's
o
difficult to
mais...
just spot the right place and the right frame.
O que mais tem personagem...
As you can see, we can't see the shard.
Que junta a trama é Demacia, não é?
But the glass is transparent, so we have to see it. So it's a problem.
É que Demacia tem muita gente, cara. Ionia... Demacia tem mais gente do que Ionia, porque Ionia tem o que acopla ele? Então, Ionia e Noxus... Exatamente. Ionia agrega porque tem... Não, Demacia tá em guerra com Noxus, não tá?
And Pascal, I really trust them.
Ou é Noxus e Ionia? Eu sempre esqueço isso. Eu não manjo de lore.
You know, like you just know that they're always gonna err on the side of quality and passion.
Ou pode ser Noxus mesmo, né?
Non, il est éteint. Ah, il est éteint. Il est censé être éteint.
É Noxus e Ionia, ok. Então Noxus e Ionia...
Et c'est ça qui est des fois un petit peu frustrant pour nous parce qu'on est assez perfectionniste, c'est de se dire bon allez là on lâche le clavier.
Des fois c'est un peu dur, ouais. Ouais.
It's the last shot of the last episode.
You locked the picture?
It's not totally locked.
It's never lock. Until it's on Netflix.
Yes.
Hey! Kind of wrapping up last minute tweaky.
Notes all make sense?
Yeah.
People always say, oh, when you work on something, you leave a piece of yourself. In this case, it's just like, it definitely took a chunk out of me. I think the best thing that I could somehow do and hopefully add some value is make stuff where we ask relevant questions and where we can show people different perspectives. I am the monster you created. Well, for Vi and for Jinx, the central question is, can you ever forgive a monster? How far are you willing to go for your sibling? Is there a line where you just can't go for your sibling and you just have to say, sorry, but this is where I have to leave you? What could have been? Is that better? I don't know what you just took out. There's anything that we can achieve with Arcane past just the sheer entertainment? There's just some good questions to ask for all of us and find our own answers. Man, that's I think the best thing Arcane could do.
Azir, yes. Shurima, Shurima. Mas qual é aquela galera do vazio? Tem o... Tem a galera do vazio, né? Tem a Kaisa, tem Malzahar e Katia, isso. Eu quero Katia, do meu Malza. Caçadinho, What could have been? É a Guerra do Vazio contra Ikatia e Shurima. Então tá aí, ó. Trazer o Mausa. Eu não faço ideia da lore dele. Eu não faço a menor ideia da lore dele.
It's going to be the first media product in the history of the world to launch everywhere, including China, at the same time. And we got Netflix and Amazon to actually partner because we're live streaming it on Twitch and enabling our players to restream it. Like crazy shit you'd only do at Riot ever.
É verdade. É verdade. Foi um lançamento global maluco.
It is such a pleasure to welcome LT and Christian Link to the premiere stage. How many things have you spent 6 years on one project for in your life? One single thing have you spent 6 years for before?
Marriage?
I mean, it's been pretty crazy to realize that the day's finally come. You know, we've been working on this for a long time, and it's finally here.
We certainly didn't expect anything on this caliber for the release of it, so it's very cool.
It's just, I think, really important to us that we create something that our audience can be proud of.
We're putting on the suit jacket. Okay, I'm not putting on trousers though. That's where I draw the line. If I was somebody who was actually there, I would hate being followed by a robot. That being said, as the robot, I have no problems putting somebody into a vaguely uncomfortable situation. That is, they have to talk to an iPad that is on a stick. I am 100% interrupting something here, haven't I?
I saw you on YouTube.
Wait, you actually know who the fuck I am?
I saw you on YouTube.
So I'm a huge fan of your stuff. I watch all your videos.
I'm a huge fan of your stuff, believe it or not.
I mean, the dream and the hope was always that League was the start of so much more.
Pô.
But, you know, fan expectations only go up. They're high, so we hope to deliver.
Baiano não apareceu nesse store. Tem não, hein?
In League of Legends.
Wait, you're Braum?
I'm Braum.
Oh my god!
How is the strongest master?
Oh my
there it is.
Esse é o Gordox.
The responsibility
Peraí. Esse é o Gordox gringo? É o Gordox gringo esse daqui? Não conhece ninguém.
The responsibility of this is kind of scary because, I mean, look, it's like the anticipation from the fans, it's just, you can feel it. It's like tangible, even on the internet, you can just feel it.
My agent sent me out for it, and I was like, oh, this is cool, you know, a black kid, he's a scientist, he's super sick, you know, and then when I got in, I was like, oh, this is a lot bigger than I thought.
I know, you do remember me, I've been telling everyone.
Thank you. Amazing job, by the way.
I'm sure you've been to a lot of premieres. This is much different, right, than most?
It's a lot cooler than most, I gotta say.
Right, doing it right.
This is the production value. This is like so incredible.
Uau.
Well, how do you
Pô,
approach
essa pré-estreia deve ter
I
sido
don't know, I
muito
think the
pica,
universal
velho.
themes of hating someone you love and loving someone you hate is just very relatable.
Doing something like this, you never really know sort of what the end result is going to look like, but the team behind this is absolutely unbelievable. And from day one, I knew that I wanted to be involved. I just can't wait to see what the players and what fans think of the show. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I have to say, I've never been as proud of a job. Finally, now actually it's out, and anyone tonight across the world can turn on Netflix and watch it. That makes me really happy. It's a weird feeling.
Should be very special, yeah. I think I'm gonna be too afraid to really see what the reactions are. I think I'm just gonna watch it, and then I'm just not gonna look online for as long as I can. We've poured like 6 years into this, you know. The idea of having to someone go, meow, it's just like, I think it would just be brutal. All I can safely assume is that the League audience is gonna be unmerciful. Whichever way that goes, you know. If they love it, they will probably send me baskets of food. If they hate it, they will send me baskets of shit.
What? Caraca, iluminação dinâmica no domo. Os caras meteram iluminação dinâmica no domo, velho. São 2 telões? Que foda! Os caras projetaram o cenário no fundo do domo.
When Christian sent me the first cut of the last 5 minutes of episode 3, I bawled. I like straight ugly cried. It was just sorry, I didn't think about it.
She is not
So many people work so hard trying to do justice to people's expectations, and they're doing it because of this love, and sense of responsibility to not let players down. Just makes us incredibly proud to see, the reactions and see those things actually happening.
We'll show them. We will show them all.
I'm just super proud of the team. I'm super happy for Christian. And then all the people that helped make it happen, like hundreds of people worked on it to bring it together, not to mention the thousands of writers that built the IP that we were then able to translate into this. So the feeling that we really wanted people to have is that we handled that IP with care and love.
Love you, man. You with it? Oh, dude, I'm so happy with it, bro. How do you feel?
I haven't looked at my phone at all today, so I'm going on the assumption that everyone hates the show and we're canceled, and this is the last night of joy we're going to have in our lives.
You probably haven't seen any of the reviews or anything.
Caraca,
No, I
mano.
haven't touched my
Meu Deus do céu.
phone since I sat down. I don't want to see it.
You don't even want to. You're like,
But you're gonna be happy though. Still watch it. Act 1 review.
Nossa, bugou completamente a legenda.
Netflix, dude, so proud of you, man. Well,
A legenda foi pro caralho.
My expectations were like, it's gonna be good. But after the finale, what a fool I was. It was so brilliant.
Today we're taking a look at the new Netflix show Arcane, and I want to just start by saying it slaps.
Oh, wow, that's lit.
Cadê o meu react aí? Cadê o meu react? Cadê eu chorando litros?
Sorry. I don't know, I'm so overwhelmed. Mainly gratitude. I'm so proud of what this team, like the excellence so exceeded my expectations, and I know very well how ridiculous this climb was.
I literally said to him, I remember I said to him, if it goes down, we'll go down with the ship. I literally said, you can have my job. Like, every time.
Merci à Christian pour la confiance. The trust, the trust of Christian in Fortiche. At the very beginning of Fortiche. Thank you, Christian.
Obrigado,
Thank you,
Cristão.
everybody. Et maintenant que la soirée commence!
Come on!
Il y a beaucoup de gens qui étaient investis dessus, et je pense que ce qui a fait aussi la force et la qualité d'Arcane, c'est que tout le monde était très passionné.
Ah, velho, pelo amor de Deus. 32 aqui.
Et Fortiche. Thank you, everybody.
Corrigiu?
Il y a beaucoup de gens qui étaient investis dessus, et je pense que ce qui a fait aussi la force et la qualité d'Arcane, c'est que tout le monde était très passionné, a toujours été très très motivé, quoi.
Je pense qu'il y avait cette idée un peu de se dépasser, de ne pas rester sur ses acquis et de prendre des risques, quelque part. Et je pense que ça, c'était payant, hein, aussi.
I was at dinner recently with the directors of Fortiche, and they said they're very happy right now because when they got into this industry, they really wanted to create something to be history of the animation world. And they were smiling and they were saying, it's such a relief that after 6 years now, they feel like they know they worked on something that is part of animation history. Doesn't matter if the project is like a wild success or it's doing fine or you know, worse than that. If anything, we've crafted something that pushes the animation world forward by a significant margin.
Sim. Completamente. E fez. Com certeza fizeram.
The fact that we can spend 5 hours in just Piltover and Zon, and then do it again in a second season before we start to zoom out of this one little corner of the world and this handful of characters. Just the possibility space is so wild. You know, Alex made a comment to me
Agora
last
você
night.
diz
He's like, I
isso,
could
né?
see myself telling
No
stories
começo do
in this
projeto.
universe
Sai daqui!
for the next 30 years.
Vai gastar meu dinheiro,
It's
vaza!
a small miracle that this TV show got made, and it's a smaller miracle that so many god tier artists came together to work on one project, and you can't not be proud of what they did. So yeah.
The other blessing and a curse for me and Alex is like we're never satisfied and we always want it to be better. So no matter how much you think you might know about what's coming in season 2, there's always going to be tons of new stuff to discover. I think people are going to be really excited about what they find.
Incrível.
The reason why I joined Riot is because I liked playing the game. I loved it. I think when Alex and I were starting to talk about making something like Arcane, we just thought that this should exist because we want to watch it. We love these characters. We love these worlds. I think maybe my favorite thing above all of Arcane is that I am very confident in saying that there's many people who work on Arcane right now that feel like they're working on the most important thing of their lives, like their careers. I feel like people feel like they're challenged, they're working on something that's gonna matter, they're gonna look back to and say, yes, like that's a proud moment of my life and I'm happy I worked on it. And that to me is probably the most important thing.
Sim. Sim. Pô, maravilhoso, cara. Espetacular. Vocês fizeram história. Vocês fizeram... Cruzando a falta. Obrigado. Vocês fizeram história. Vocês fizeram cinema. Vocês fizeram, tipo, animação 3. Porque, cara, Arcane é um projeto feito de corpo e alma por mentes e pessoas brilhantes que concatenaram todos os seus esforços em criar algo histórico. Arcane é uma animação histórica. Arcane é uma animação única. Arcane é algo, assim, excepcional. É algo excepcional. É algo tão diferente, tão único, tão próprio, que é difícil de tecer elogios. É difícil, cara. Você elogiar algo de Arcane é pouco, porque é tanta coisa pra elogiar. A gente teve 5 episódios, totalizando, 2 horas e meia de making off, pra tentar mostrar cada pedacinho do brilhantismo de cada parte que forma Arcane. Arcane é um conjunto de pequenas peças que são brilhantes por si só. E quando juntas, criam um brilho excepcional. Criam uma unidade excepcional. Pô, quando eles começaram a mostrar como eram feitas as animações, como eram feitas as dublagens, como era feito o polimento de cenário, a pintura, a composição de música, a composição de efeitos sonoros. Cara, é um negócio assim excepcional. É fora de série. Isso daqui é outro nível. Isso daqui é outro nível de produção. Então, assim, meus sinceros parabéns. Meus sinceros... Muito obrigado pra essa equipe. Porque eles fizeram algo único. Eles fizeram algo com o coração e com a mente. E com, obviamente, muito estresse. Mas que, no fim, todo esse trabalho árduo valeu a pena. Valeu a pena para criar uma obra fantástica. Uma obra sem igual. Tá aí. Eu espero que, de fato... Eu não sei se vai ter o making off da segunda temporada. Mas esse making off gigante que eles fizeram deu pra sentir muito o que eram os bastidores e explicar muito, muito mesmo. Cara, eu amei esse documentário. Eu adorei saber quem eram essas pessoas, eram as mentes por trás, quem eram os indivíduos por trás que fizeram a Arcane ser Arcane. Cara, que galera boa. Que galera excepcional. Incrível. Incrível. Absolutamente incrível. Daí, esse foi o making of de Arcane. Ansioso pra terminar a segunda temporada. E é isso. Um bom anime. Até o próximo vídeo.